Good morning, everybody. It is Melissa Johnson speaking. I am the Principal Psychologist and the Director at Thriving Mind Psychology Clinic located here on the Sunshine Coast. And welcome to vlog 28 of the 90-day vlog challenge. Today I am talking about shoulds and musts. And of course I'm talking about this in the context of over the last few days we've been talking about a number of unhelpful thinking strategies and how sometimes our thoughts or unhelpful thoughts can lead to quite distressing feelings and also some unhelpful behaviour. So those unhelpful thoughts have negative influence on our feelings and our behaviour. So I've talked about a few different ones, but today I want to talk about I should and I must. So the statement I should or I must or even they should or she must is something that we probably quite commonly hear on a day-to-day basis, not just from ourselves, but from, the people around us. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. So the unhelpful thinking style of I should and I must, like all the other thinking styles I've discussed, whether it's, mental filter, catastrophizing, or any of the others which we haven't yet discussed, are not necessarily all a bad thing. We all do these things. We all sometimes say, I should, I must. We all sometimes catastrophize. We all sometimes have a mental filter. And that's okay. We all engage in that sometimes. It does, of course, become a problem when we're engaging and we get stuck with those thoughts quite consistently and also quite persistently. So if we're really stuck in it and ruminating about it, that's when it can really have quite a detrimental and distressing impact on our feelings, our emotions, and also our behaviour. So let's think of with shoulds, I should and I must. Sometimes the words I should and I must are actually a good thing. So for example, I should not drink and drive is actually a good thing. And I shoulds and I musts are actually they're derived from our underlying values and our goals and our expectations that we set upon ourselves. And again, that's a good thing. It's a good thing to have expectations. It's a good thing to expect things of ourselves and those around us. It means that we're wanting our behaviour to be in line with our underlying value systems. So things like, I should always try to work really hard when I'm at work. I should be a good employee. They are sort of derived from these underlying values of, hi Sam, thank you for joining. So they are really, derived from these underlying values of, being a good employee and valuing the workplace and valuing the work that you contribute to your workplace. So don't forget, I musts and I shoulds are actually really most of the time derived by some underlying really good values and the expectations that we then place upon ourselves and others because of those values. However, the problem with I shoulds and I musts is that they can really place some unnecessarily high pressure on us, and they can be quite structured and rigid. Okay, there's absolutely no flexibility in the statement of I should. Okay, nothing at all. It doesn't leave any leeway for the times when actually that doesn't happen. And this is where it becomes a bit of a problem. So if we have a think about the example of a mother, and she makes statements around, I should always provide a good, nutritious meal for my children every day. That is a very high demanding pressure, and it's a very structured and rigid expectation that you place upon yourself, because the reality of that is that might not always happen. It might not always be possible. Things might happen. You might get stressed, busy, tired. You might be on holidays, or you might just want to have a break, and it's okay sometimes to have takeout. But when someone places that pressure on themselves of I should always, I must be a good mum, I must provide nutritious meals always, what happens is that one or two times when you don't quite meet that mark, we see it as a failure. Yeah, and it can be quite distressing, and we experience a lot of other emotions like maybe guilt, distress, anger, frustration, self-doubt. It can impact your self-esteem, all of those sort of things, because that value, that expectation that we placed upon ourselves was so rigid, so structured, that the one time we didn't quite meet it, put my pen down, one time we didn't quite meet it, we see the whole thing as a failure, okay? So a similar example is someone who really values being timely and efficient, and that's a good thing, again. However, they make statements around, I must always be on time, or I should never be late for work or for anything. And again, the reality of that is most of the time that person might be able to do that. But there's certainly times, and sometimes times outside of your control, where it's just not that possible. You might just have been running late that day. The alarm clock might not have gone off. You might have got caught in traffic. There might have been a car accident. There could have been a lot of different factors, external factors that might not have necessarily even been your fault, that lead to you being late on one particular day at work. So you can imagine somebody who has very high, structured, rigid expectations around, I should always be on time, I must never be late. And on those occasions where actually they had no choice but to be late, you can imagine the distress that creates for that person. Even just sitting in the car on the way, driving, become quite anxious, become quite frustrated, maybe even angry, quite agitated, all because they're just not quite meeting that very structured and rigid expectation of I should always or I must never. Even though in the grand scheme of things, most of the time they do that. But we focus and we really recognize those one or two times and we just don't meet that. And again, it evokes those really unhelpful emotions around guilt, sense of failure, anger, irritability, all of those sort of things. So you can sort of see how the underlying desire of saying things like I want and I should come from a good place generally. You know, they come from the good place of wanting to be a good mum or a good employee or, you know, a good workmate or a good wife or anyone, a good sister, daughter, it doesn't matter. But sometimes the way we state it to ourselves, sometimes the expectation we place upon ourselves because of that very good underlying value can really be quite distressing and really have quite a negative impact because it's just too structured and too rigid. So just be mindful of that in future when you're noticing that you're feeling quite distressed or upset or angry and anxious. Just have a think about what it is. Is there something that you're thinking about or ruminating about or telling yourself that could be actually impacting how you feel? And just be mindful of these I should and I must statements. And of course, she should or they must. It works the same way. We can place those unreasonably high pressures and demands on other people as well, including our children, our workmates, our husband, even wives. So be mindful of that because it really can lead to quite distressing, unhelpful and destructive emotions at times just because there's a few times when actually we don't meet that mark. And try and take on a little bit more flexibility around our values, our goals, and also around our expectations that we place upon ourselves. So yes, it would be lovely, and most of the time I will attempt to get to work on time, but I understand that at times that's just not going to happen, and I'm okay with that. I will do the best that I can. It's much more flexible than I should and I must. Yeah? Okay. That is it for me today. I hope you're all having a wonderful Saturday and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend planned. Now, after listening and hearing about all about unhelpful thinking, so you know that inner critic, we've talked about unhelpful thinking styles such as that mental filter, catastrophizing, what-ifing, and of course today, I shoulds and I must. If after thinking about all of these and we're doing a bit of name and shaming, you're thinking, actually, I could be quite persistently and consistently engaging in those thinking patterns. And I actually think they might be starting to have an impact on how I feel and also how I behave. If you'd like to learn some more strategies and learn more about this, please do give me a call. I am available for consultations. I am based here, obviously, on the Sunshine Coast. I'm in Bedina, directly across from the Kiwanis Shopping Centre, so it's super central and really convenient to get there. I offer private consultations. You can also get a referral through your GP, and I actually do have a couple of appointments left on Monday. So if you are after that, please do give me a call. You can call me on 0428 088 671. You can also email me. I will put the link to my email in the comment section below and the phone number, and I will also put the link to my website because you can also jump onto the website and book online, which is super convenient. So that is it for me today. Thank you all for listening. Sam, thank you for joining. I appreciate you being here on your Saturday morning. I hope you all have a lovely day. And as always, don't forget there's never been a better day than today to take the steps to having your thriving mind and your thriving life. Bye for now.